Hey, what's happening, guys? What is going on? You guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels. Today is January 2nd, 2023. I didn't wind up getting a video out yesterday, New Year's Day. I had actually made a video earlier in the day, but there wasn't a whole lot of interesting news. There wasn't a whole lot to say. I didn't really like the video and just decided to give you guys a break, decided not to put it out. But today is January 2nd, 2023. We've kicked off the new year. The new year is getting started. Today's kind of a weird day. A lot of people are back in the office today. A lot of people are heading back to work today. But at the same time, today is, for a lot of companies, this is the quote-unquote observed holiday. So because New Year's Day fell on a Sunday, fell on a weekend, a lot of companies are giving people the Monday off. And speaking of companies, how many of you guys got a Christmas bonus from your employer? I thought this was interesting on, I think it was New Year's Eve. I was at a party hanging out with some friends and family, and people started talking about Christmas bonuses. And I was kind of surprised that, like, nobody in the, there were a lot of people at the party, but just in this room we were in, it was probably 12, 14 people, and not a single person got a Christmas bonus. One of my buddies said his manager came by and gave everybody a piece of chocolate. But I was kind of surprised to hear that, Christmas bonuses seem to be getting less and less common. But I'd love to hear from you guys. How many of you guys got a Christmas bonus this year? I've been given some movie suggestions in some of these recent videos. So I got two more for you guys. Two more movies. We were kind of playing movies in the background on New Year's Eve. So this one I've seen a couple times, but Den of Thieves with 50 Cent. It's on Netflix. I know you're probably thinking no good movie could possibly have 50 Cent in it. But if you like heist movies, if you like crime movies, you'll absolutely love Den of Thieves. Very action-packed, really good movie. Really enjoyed that one, and it is on Netflix. Another one that we watched that I'm a big fan of is called Love Hard. It's this kind of dorky Chinese kid. I forget the actor's name. But he basically winds up catfishing this really attractive girl on social media. On a dating site. She winds up surprising him, flying out to his city to meet him. Obviously, is surprised when she learns she gets catfished. But it turns out the guy whose photo this guy was using actually lives in the town. So he's trying to help hook her up with him. Kind of a funny movie, kind of a cute holiday movie if you guys are got the day off and are looking just for kind of a fun movie to watch. But let's get into today's news. One thing I've been saying for a while is, I think leading into the Mexican beer cough, a lot of us were expecting, at the very least, a pullback, maybe a recession, right? We were just kind of due for one. Markets were kind of overheated. Obviously, the Fed started printing money. The Fed printed money like we've never seen in the history of the country or the history of the world before. And at a time when nothing was being made, global trade was kind of shut down, people weren't traveling, people weren't working, and eventually is going to come the day when we're going to have to pay the price for this. Well, I think a few months back, I think it was looking like it was going to happen, but then we had the midterms right around the corner, and we had Biden in the White House kind of trying to prop up the economy through midterms because they didn't want midterms to be a landslide. So we got through midterms, but midterms were sometime in November. By the time you get to November, Thanksgiving's right around the corner, Christmas is right around the corner, we're in the holiday season. Most people don't want to deal with the recession. Most people don't want to cut back amidst the holiday season. We know that, the average person put about $1,500 on the credit card during this holiday season. But this recession, this collapse, this depression, whatever it is that's coming, was pushed back until after the new year. Most things kind of go into hibernation towards the end of the year. Companies, even if they hire somebody, your start date's not going to be until in January. Most companies hold off on laying people off until the new year. This year was a little bit different. We did see a lot of companies laying people off going into the holiday season, which kind of goes to show how bad things really have to be. Before we kind of get into the economic portion of today's news, there is a new YouTube policy that if you swear within the first 8 seconds of a video, it's essentially akin to committing a hate crime or using a racial slur. YouTube is really cracking down on swearing. A lot of YouTube content creators have noticed that their entire YouTube catalogs have been demonetized. So whereas a lot of YouTube changes don't go back retroactively, this one's going back retroactively. So if you made a video back in 2007 and swore in the first 8 to 15 seconds, that video has likely been demonetized. YouTubers are going crazy over this, and understandably so, right? If you count on YouTube for a good portion of your income, this probably sucks for you guys. YouTube has really been cracking down on swearing for a long time. I think I think before it was like swearing in the first 30 seconds of a video was bad. Now it's like really bad in the first 8 seconds. One thing a lot of YouTubers are talking about is YouTube isn't very good at communicating these policies. So people actually notice this before they even learn that it was a new policy. There's a YouTuber by the name of, I think it's Penguin or Penguins O or Penguin Zero. He seems to be into like gaming and comic books and things like that. He did a video about this the other day. He's got a couple million subscribers. So he reached out to his YouTube rep, who actually didn't know anything about the policy, had to look into it, and then came back and said, yeah, there's a new policy about swearing. You know, YouTube has been going downhill for a long time. At one time, YouTube was actually a social network. YouTube wasn't, a place to watch movie previews. YouTube wasn't where the mainstream news would all upload their same view and same opinion on stories, and that's all you would be fed. You know, there was a time when YouTube was people like you and me making videos in our house, making videos in our basement, making videos in our bedroom. I don't know how many of you guys remember this. YouTube used to have like a video response. So if you made a video sharing an opinion about a topic, I could make a response to your video. And there was much more of kind of like a social aspect, a social media aspect to it. And today, YouTube is really no different than television. Whenever an interesting news story comes out, one of the things I used to like about YouTube was being able to watch and see different normal people's take on that situation. Whereas now if I search something, I get 300 videos from different mainstream news networks who are all sharing the same opinion in like a minute and 30-second clip with the same B-roll footage. And it's just not really an interesting place anymore. You can't find unique videos anymore. Anyhow, I think one good thing might come of this YouTube censorship is, before YouTube would go after people with certain political views, people with certain societal views. That's now YouTube's pretty much going after everybody equally because everybody swears. And I think if YouTube pisses off enough people, I think maybe you'll start to see more people migrate over to Rumble and other platforms. So even though in some ways this sucks, I think YouTube going so far with this is maybe going to alienate some of their content creators and drive people to new platforms. And I think competition is always good. So I saw another headline. The IMF warns that's the International Monetary Fund. The IMF warns that a third of the world will be in recession this year. I think that's kind of overly optimistic. I think nearly 100% of the world is going to be in a recession this year. I mean, maybe like Vanuatu or some crazy place that doesn't have a lot of contact or connections with the rest of the world will do fine. But I think the idea that only a third of the world will be in a recession this year is probably pretty optimistic. You guys have probably noticed this, but Rolex watch thefts and really just the thefts of nice jewelry and nice cars has been skyrocketing. I don't know if you guys watch like World Star Hip Hop or see videos on Reddit or Twitter. But people will be sitting at a diner in a nice area of town in Beverly Hills or Chicago on the Mag Mile or wherever else, and somebody will come up with a gun and steal their watch, steal their expensive handbag, steal their luggage, steal their car. How crazy is that? Like, I used to travel quite a bit, and when I would go to a third world country or a poor country, I might leave I don't wear a lot of jewelry, but I might leave my gold chain at home. I might leave my watch at home. There are things like, I'll probably be fine, but like, why even invite the risk? And now here, right in the good old US of A, and not only in bad neighborhoods, bad areas, in some of the nicest areas of the country, you can't even wear your jewelry out. You can't even carry a nice purse without having to worry about a gun in your face and being robbed. I think one thing that will be interesting to watch in 2023, when are they finally going to admit or acknowledge that we're actually in a recession? Still to this day, the White House, the Fed, the media, they all tell us we're in danger of going in a recession, but we're not in a recession. When do you guys think that they're actually going to admit we're in a recession? Is it going to be early January? Is it going to be March? Is it going to be summertime? I don't know how much longer you can continue denying it. I saw there was another publication that said by this summer of 2023, inflation will be back down to 2%. And yeah, we'll be in a mild recession, but we'll have low unemployment. They must be smoking crack to write that article. On average, recessions last about 10 months. They haven't even admitted that we're in a recession. 10 months out from today would put us in October of 2023. So how this publication I saw the other day, who's saying inflation will be down to 2% and we might be in a mild recession with low unemployment in summertime is just crazy. We're probably not going to be back down to 2% inflation until 2025, possibly never again. And if you notice, the Fed has actually changed how they talk about the 2% inflation target. They now talk about a 2% average, not a 2% target. Only 40% of Americans can cover a surprise $400 expense. I thought this was kind of crazy. We talk about people spending 20% of people going to Disney World, on average, spending $5,700. 20% of those people don't have the money and are putting it on credit cards. I had a family friend yesterday who was going out to buy a G-Shock watch, who was going to the mall. This guy's got 17 G-Shock watches already. Does he really need another one? No. Does he not realize that maybe the economy's starting to go in the toilet, that maybe, he should save that money for a rainy day? No, but, he was taking his Coach bag and heading out to the mall to buy his 18th G-Shock watch. And it just kind of shows how bad people are with money. Poverty is a tough cycle to get out of. A lot of people who are in poverty today, their parents were in poverty, their grandparents were in poverty. When you grow up in poverty, you don't get good food, which means you're not going to be as healthy. If you're not if your stomach's not full, if you're not healthy, you're probably not going to get good grades. If you grow up in poverty, you're probably not going to go to good schools. You're probably not going to get to go to college. And poverty becomes a chain that's really hard to break. And more people are going to see themselves in poverty in 2023. And again, poverty can really kind of suck you down the hole. It can be something that's very, very tough to get out of. And I think this economy in 2023 is going to drag a lot more people down into poverty. And it's very, very tough to get out of. So that's kind of a really sad thing. 20 million American households last month were unable to pay their utilities, and over 20 million American households are behind an average of $788 on utility bills. How many of these people behind on their utility bills are still going to Disney World, are still going out buying G-Shock watches, are still buying a new PlayStation, are still ordering all their meals out from Grubhub and Uber Eats? But a lot of the media is telling us that things are getting better. Inflation is coming down. It looks like we might not have a recession. It'll be a very mild recession. But we have 20 million households who not only can't pay their utility bills, but are behind $788. Saw another article the other day. The Royal Bank of Canada noticed more Canadians are hoarding cash. There's been the most demand for cash in 60 years. And if you remember, I think it was this past summer. I don't even remember the cause, but remember kind of all of the systems went down in Canada. You couldn't take money out of the ATMs. The banks weren't working. Cell phones were down. I think people are realizing that, we don't want to live in a cashless society. It's good to have cash. It's good to keep some cash at home. And it's good to be prepared. I'm not going to get into why exactly, because I want to keep today's video pretty short, but Zero Hedge had an article today saying that the EU is likely to ban Bitcoin in 2023 for a variety of reasons. They don't like that they can't control it. It's quote unquote bad for the environment. And there's a whole host of other reasons. Do you guys think that is likely? Do you guys think that is unlikely? Check out the article on Zero Hedge. EU likely to ban Bitcoin this year. You guys may or may not have seen that in Times Square on New Year's Eve, some radicalized guy wound up attacking 3 police officers with a machete. I believe they wound up shooting him. I think one police officer was wounded pretty badly. Turns out this guy was on the FBI watch list. Isn't it weird how every school shooter, everybody who does something bad, the FBI was watching them? What good is it having the FBI watch people? Because they never seem to actually stop anybody. And most of the crimes that they do stop seem to be crimes that either they or their informants have created in the first place. So I'm definitely on board with Ron Paul wanting to disband the FBI. I don't think they do a whole lot of good. Can Southwest Airlines win back loyal customers? So a lot of people who fly Southwest are diehard Southwest people. They think it's a friendly airline. They like that they don't charge you for baggage. They like that they don't do assigned seating. But Southwest pissed off a lot of people these past couple weeks. 15 or 20,000 delayed flights. They lost a ton of people's baggage. Will Southwest be able to gain back these loyal customers, and what will they do to gain back these loyal customers? I'm generally not a big fan of airline stocks, but I was just kind of curious, so I decided to look into it, because I think a lot of times when there's a lot of outrage at a company, whether it be Facebook or Smith & Wesson or whoever else, you'll see You'll see a very quick dip in the stock, but they oftentimes recover very quickly as well. So I was looking at the Southwest stock, down 15% on the month, down 23% on the year. They do pay a 2.14% dividend. I'm probably not a buyer. I'm not really interested, but I thought that was worth mentioning. Let's talk a little bit about automation. You guys have seen the automation at that McDonald's in Texas where you never see a human. There's maybe one or two guys working back in the kitchen, but the food comes out on conveyor belts. You never interact with an actual person. We also see that Flippy, that restaurant robot technology company, they're right now trying to figure out if Flippy can make tortilla chips at Chipotle. You guys noticed I said Chipotle this time, not Chipotle. Flippy is also experimenting with making pizzas, and at White Castle's restaurants, Flippy is already making burgers and dropping and picking up fries. You know what's kind of funny? I think we're going to see more automation. I noticed at grocery stores, you have more of these people who are running around shopping for people and then running food out to their cars. But I had kind of a funny automation story. It was New Year's Eve, and my girlfriend forgot something at the house, so I had to drive back to the house. I wound up stopping at a CVS to grab myself a water and a Red Bull. And it was weird. I don't really like CVS. If I'm going to go into a CVS or a Walgreens, I'll typically pick Walgreens over CVS. But this one was on my way home. So I went into CVS. CVS had 3 checkout machines and 1 cashier. But what was funny, you know how that when the checkout machines screw up, I was going to say F up, but we got to watch the swearing now. You know how you see when the machines mess up and they don't let you do anything and an employee has to come over and punch in a code and you got the light blinking? So you got a line of people waiting to use this cashier. You have 3 people at the self-checkout. All 3 of the self-checkout machines are blinking lights. So the cashier, who is supposed to be there to ring up people and serve people, is having to bounce back and forth between his 3 self-checkouts. It seemed to be a headache. She didn't really seem to be able to get things back in order. And you have the rest of us all waiting in line while she's fixing the self-checkout machines. And I know the whole goal of self-checkouts is to make things more efficient, to make them be able to run on less cashiers. And in this situation, it seemed to be creating more headaches than it was alleviating. I think if they had no self-checkouts and this woman just quickly rang everybody up, I think things would have went a lot quicker and a lot smoother. Stock market last day of the year. So this is 2 days ago at this point, but it's 3 days ago at this point. The Dow closed down 77 points. Rest of the market closed down. NASDAQ, Russell 3000, etc. This was the worst performing year for stocks since 2008. The S&P 500 finished down 20%. And a 60-40 stock portfolio has not performed this poorly since 1932. Tech layoffs are surpassing 2008 levels. If we look at some of the biggest loser stocks of 2022, Tesla down 65%, Meta down 64%, PayPal down 62%, Black & Decker down 60%, Carnival down 59%, Warner Brothers down 59%, Caesars Entertainment down 55%. If you look at the amount of money companies and shareholders have lost in terms of billions instead of percentages, I think sometimes it's even crazier. Apple lost $846 billion in market cap. Amazon lost $834 billion in market cap. Microsoft lost $734 billion in market cap. Netflix lost $136 billion in market cap. Walt Disney lost $123 billion in market cap. I thought this stat was interesting. Fox Business article, despite layoffs, 50% of workers plan to quit their jobs in 2022. The past, if you wanted to job hop, if you wanted to switch companies, if you wanted to level up in terms of your position, if you wanted to increase your salary, the time to do this was the past 2 or 3 years during quiet quitting and the Great Resignation. Companies were desperate for employees. Companies were paying more. At this point, 2023 is going to be an ugly year. We're going to see a lot more layoffs. A lot of people are worried about their jobs. I don't know about you guys. This year, I think, is the year to kind of hunker down. If you have a decent job, a stable job in a stable industry, I would stick with it because I think a lot of people are going to be losing their jobs in 2023. And in terms of going out and getting a new job, when layoffs start, do you want to be the brand new guy at the brand new company who doesn't know as much as everybody else, who isn't as valuable as everybody else, who doesn't have that seniority as long as everybody else? I know I wouldn't. I would kind of stick with your current job, at least until we see how this recession, how these layoffs, and how 2023 is going to shake out. But that's just me. 2022, we lost $17.4 trillion in the equity and bond markets. And then I just kind of have one more thing to talk about, and then we'll kind of wrap up this video. So The Fast Company website had 5 predictions for 2023. Number 1, they said a tighter labor market will favor workers. I disagree with this. Maybe for low-wage jobs, but not for skilled jobs, white-collar jobs, or high-paying jobs. We know of the 12 million excess jobs out there. About 1 million are government jobs, 1 million are white-collar or skilled labor jobs, high-paying jobs, and the rest are restaurants, bartenders, baristas, and service sectors. So, I think the job market is going to tighten in 2023. We're going to see more layoffs, and I don't think that this tighter labor market will favor office workers, for example. Remote work is here to stay. I think I kind of disagree with that. Right now, about 30% of companies are working remotely. I've seen some articles saying that that's probably going to stay stable through 2023. We're already starting to see companies calling people back into the office. Salesforce, Snapchat, Twitter, among others. I think that's a trend we're going to see continue in 2023. And I think as people are less secure about their jobs, as more people are being laid off, I think you're going to see more people willing to go back into the office. These companies are also going to need to be more efficient. And whether it's true or not, I think companies view being in the office as being more efficient than being at home. Fast Company's 5 predictions for 2023. Number 3, boosted benefits. They say employers will offer more benefits to attract workers. Number 4, happiness as a measure of success. They say that workers are prioritizing their own happiness, and I kind of agree with that. I think that's what this whole quiet quitting trend was kind of all about. Employees aren't willing to work weekends. They aren't willing to work nights. They're not willing to put in extra hours at home or work on vacation, right? People are saying, I'm going to do the best job that I can for you while I'm in the office, but outside of work, outside of 9 to 5, that's my time for me and my family. And then lastly, Fast Company's 5 predictions for 2023. They say diversity and inclusion will grow. I see the opposite. I see people being fed up with diversity and inclusion. If you look at a lot of the diversity and inclusion hires of this past year, I think Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, who by all accounts, even by Democrats and liberals, would say she's been a complete disaster. The only reason she became mayor of Chicago is because she is a lesbian person of color. So there's an example of hiring somebody just for the color of their skin or their sexual orientation didn't pan out too well. If you look at one of Joe Biden's head of nuclear whatever, the guy who was into puppy play and who liked dressing up as a woman, he was stealing people's luggage from the airports. I think there was another transgender hire who was likely hired just because she's transgender. Biden will outright come and say this. I want to hire a woman for this position. I want to hire a person of color for this position. I'm all about hiring women and people of color and people who are trans for positions if they are the best candidate for that position, but just hiring somebody for their sexual orientation or sex or race or color or religion or anything else, I think is a bad thing. And we've seen a lot of these diversity hires blow up in people's faces. Another thing we're seeing is companies realize, especially tech companies, social media companies, realize that they have to be efficient. You can't have useless eaters sitting around a company. And, when times are bad, when companies need to make money, when companies need to cut back, who do they keep? They keep salespeople because salespeople bring in revenue. They keep coders or programmers because, they need them for the site to continue running. Who don't you need? You don't need a diversity officer. You don't need, the 12th HR person to put together diversity and inclusion departments. I think a lot of these positions are already starting to go away, and I think this will continue to fade away in 2023 as well. We're also seeing kind of ESG scores in terms of investments and things like that die off as well. But I got to get running. That's the video for today. I wish you guys a happy and healthy new year. Reconnect with family and friends. Support local businesses. Kind of try to drop out of the system and drop out of the matrix as much as possible. Wish you all a happy and healthy new year. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.